afternoon. So, what makes people happy? Some people would say living in a big house or driving a fancy car, owning all these designer bags and shoes, which I'm guilty of sometimes, and having all other material possessions. But does God promise us material prosperity? If we turn to 1 Timothy 6, verse 6, it says, "Now there is gain in godliness with contentment." Verse 7, "For we brought nothing into the world, and we cannot take anything out of the world." Verse 8, "But if we have food and clothing, we will be content." One time, we were driving somewhere in San Marino, and we passed by these big houses. And my daughter asked me, "Mom, how come we didn't buy a house here? I wanted a big house with stairs, and I want a big room, so I'll have enough space to put my toys and my clothes." And I told her, first of all, we can't afford to buy a big house, and second, you don't really need that many toys and clothes to put in a big room. I told her, she has to be thankful and contented with what we have right now. We live in a house, she goes to school, she can take the classes that she likes. See, my daughter loves gymnastics and martial arts, so those, we spend on those also. And, we should be thankful for what God has provided us. And also, I used to tell the kids, they're lucky to live here in the U.S. You look around, most people have jobs, they have a house they live in, they even have the freedom to go to church and worship God. So they were never really exposed to poverty. When I was a student in the Philippines, as part of my internship, I had to do community work. And they would send us to all these poor communities near our school. And I remember working with this one child. She has cerebral palsy. So, it was severe that she can't even, sit or move by herself. So as I went inside this tiny house, I looked around and there was no bed. She was just laying on the floor, and they put a cardboard with sheets. And just seeing her just made me feel like, I'm so glad I have a bed with a comfortable mattress to lay on. I mean, just imagine having to lay on that hard surface for 24 hours. It's just very painful. And as I walk around that community, I would see children walking to school. They don't even have shoes. They just wear old flip-flops, and some of them don't even have, they don't get to eat breakfast before they go to school. And when they get home, they still have to help the parents, work, so they can help provide food for the table. And that's why I have this rule in the house: no leftover food in the plate. Because, just think of the other children and people around the world starving at this moment, and here we are just throwing food in the trash. And another story I can think of about contentment is, my dad gave me this book, 50 People Every Christian Should Know. And I read a story about Fanny Crosby. Now, I don't know if any of you is familiar with Fanny Crosby. She is a hymn writer. She lived from 1820 to 1915, and she has written over 8,000 songs. And one song that I'm familiar with, and you might be familiar with, is "To God Be the Glory." So when Fanny was 6 weeks old, she developed a mild eye inflammation, and the doctor's careless treatment on her has left her blind. And the doctor felt so guilty that he had to move far away from the area. But Fanny, she had no ill feeling against the doctor. And in fact, she believed that what has happened to her was God's providence. Fanny was contented with what happened to her, that even if she had the chance to have her eye corrected, she would not attempt it. She felt that her blindness was God's gift to her, because if she wasn't blind, she couldn't have written all these songs about God's glory. She said that if she has eyesight, she would be so distracted by the other things she sees around her, and she wouldn't be able to write songs about God. And when she was 8 years old, she wrote a poem, and I'm going to read it to you. Oh, what a happy child I am. Although I cannot see, I am resolved that in this world contented I will be. How many blessings I enjoy that other people don't. So weep or sigh because I am blind, I cannot or I won't. So Fanny Crosby has triumphed over her handicap and used it for God's glory. So, we all have our personal struggles in life, financial issues or health issues, but God assures us, as it is said in the Bible, if we turn to Hebrews 13, verse 5 to 6. Verse 5, keep your lives free from the love of money, and be content with what you have, because God has said, never will I leave you, never will I forsake you. Thank you.